Welcome back to the Light Up Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Samantha Peters, and today's guest is Jonnie Parsons. He's an entrepreneur, wellness coach, and he's the founder of Discipline and Legacy. But 8 years ago, he was homeless and he was battling drug addiction. And now he owns multiple businesses and he's also empowering other people through faith, fitness, and mindset. Welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here and glad we met, glad we connected. I mean, super awesome. Like when people just like, we knew what we had to do. Like, let's do it. Like,
yes. So we're here at your studio in Port St. Lucie.
Yes.
It's beautiful. You did an incredible job on this, but I really want you to take us back to the season of your life when you were battling drug addiction and being homeless. What was that like for you?
Actually, my next book I'm writing is like, that's where I'm starting. I've been in that spot more recently. The depths of it, right? I mean, because it started for me at a young age, but like the depths of it where I hit my real bottom was probably about 9 years ago. I was pretty successful. Like I had gotten clean at 21 years old. So I had from like 21 to 27, I had a great life. I met my son's mother. I became a firefighter paramedic. I had my own lawn business and we had everything you could think of. We built together. We weren't married, but we lived together I was with her for 10 years and everything. 4-bedroom house, the cars we wanted, trucks I wanted for business, and became the firefighter and had this lifestyle that looked like the white picket fence lifestyle, but there was just a void that I had still. And I knew who God was my whole life. Like I believed in God. But didn't go to church, didn't know what it meant to be Christ-like or anything like that. And so I had a void, and I call it a spiritual void. And I would always try to fill it with things outside of me, like material things. And don't get me wrong, I don't know why buying a pair of shoes makes me feel good, but like going to the mall, that's what I tell people is like my drug of choice is more. But, so like it obviously got to a point where I got disconnected from the people that were helping me to stay clean and sober. And I ended up thinking it was a good idea to drink again. And like it didn't happen that day to where like I hit bottom that day, but it was all right. Well, maybe I'll just drink on Wednesday nights and then all the weekends and then 18 pack in the fridge every day. And then next thing you know, from my past and my background, I tell people my dope man's phone number's in the bottom of my beer. So like I would get to a point where like I would start drinking. I want to do extra, more drugs, other drugs. And, that's what really took me to my bottom this second time is because like, I smoked weed, I did cocaine and I drank, but I never got into like the opiates and stuff. So this time around, that's really what took me to my bottom quick. So I got to the point where I was a paramedic on an ambulance. I was taking the fentanyl from the ambulance and, grandma was on the floor with a broken hip. I'm a paramedic. I got the keys to the narc box. I give grandma enough fentanyl to take care of her hip, and there's always a little bit left over. And we're supposed to waste it at the hospital. And I just being the mindset and the mentality I had from I was like, oh, I could just replace this with water. Nobody will ever know. And I got to the hospital and got rid of the water and saved the fentanyl for me. And they were like, Jonnie, why are you giving fentanyl every other shift? Like this guy.
Yeah.
But I never got in trouble for that at work. I was still professional. I didn't really like whenever I did do drugs, it made me feel normal. That's how high my tolerance was. But obviously as a result of my addiction, I ended up having to resign from my position at the fire department here in Indian River County. Wasn't because I was high or anything. I was at the gas station and I ended up coming back to the East Coast because my father had cancer. And so I was working at Indian River County Fire Rescue in Vero. And I was on my probationary period's 1 year. So I was on my probationary period and I put gasoline in the diesel on accident that morning in the ambulance. And then when I was going to change shifts, they had a call. Obviously, gas doesn't run in a diesel engine. I told them I'd pay to fix it. I'd pay to drain the tank, do whatever I needed to do. And they were like, look, you're still on probation. You're not protected by the union. So you can either resign or they're going to fire you. And so I think that was like a blessing in disguise. I think it was God kind of removing me from that situation before I hurt somebody or hurt myself. And so that was the beginning of the bottom. Had a lawn business too for years. So that was still keeping us afloat. I made good money doing that. And then just little by little, my addiction I started just pieces of that. My lawn business just started going to, I tell people I always You say you lose something, but I didn't lose it. I know where it went. I gave it all away. Just little by little, I started losing accounts, started selling equipment, and got to the point where like couldn't afford to pay my mortgage. And my son's mother and I had split up. We had lost custody of my son. We were in a DCF case, and so my son was with his grandma, and me and her weren't together, but we were still doing our own thing, and just couldn't stay clean. And I ended up in jail. This was 8 years ago. The first time. I've never been arrested in my life other than whenever I was underage. So I got arrested at 30 for possession of marijuana. Nothing too crazy, but it was, once again, God, I think, a blessing in disguise, because I should be a felon. I should be in prison. There should be a lot of things that I should have went through, but he kind of protected me. And so I ended up in and out of jail for about 2 years straight through probation, getting out, being on probation, violating my probation. I think the last time I ended up in jail was they served me papers and said, "Here, we're taking custody of your son. You're no longer able to be fit to be a parent." And I was in jail. They served me. I had to sign custody over of my son to his grandma, and she adopted him. And so that was like it for me. That was the dagger through the heart, to where I never wanted to commit suicide. I wasn't suicidal. But I think every time I used drugs at that point in my life, like I was putting enough inside of my body that I was subconsciously trying to kill myself. Like it was like a cry for help. And it got to the point where, like, that last time I was in jail, my family didn't want anything to do with me. I had stolen from my whole family. I've treated them all bad. I remember I ran from the cops when they came to pick me up on a warrant. I drove around the block because I had drugs in my pocket, and I like hurried up and threw it out, drove around the block, then pulled in. Cops pulled me out, beat me right in front of my mom and my brother. And my brother was like laughing, because I had gotten to that point where like they hated me, and they were like, finally, like he's safe. He's in jail. And my mom wouldn't let me come back. And so that was the bottom for me. That was like the bitter ends. And funny story too, is that ministry. So whenever I got out of jail that last time, when my parents didn't want anything to do with me, a ministry took me in. It's a jail and prison ministry, TRC ministry. And since in the last 8 years, they're no longer around, but the pastor does free Christian counseling, and his office is right here in the corner of this hallway right here. And when I rented this studio, I didn't even know it. I walked out the door here and saw that his office is there, and I see him all the time. And he's like, "Jonnie, you're doing great." And but God truly protected me through all of it. And I think it was like, I truly, the last time I got out of jail, like I didn't want to live that life anymore. I remember going to the prison ministry, and it's like a halfway house. Of course, you have like other guys in there, and they're all like thinking of ways to get over on the system, and like, oh, we can't have girls here, and like, oh, let's go hang out with the girls, and they're smoking cigarettes. Like, you just got out of jail. You're in jail for 8 months and you didn't smoke cigarettes. Why are you going to get out and start an $8 a day habit? So like, this is where my mind was. I was done with living that life. They're all hanging out. I'm in the back my room back there, reading self-development books, reading my Bible. I remember it was like my second week in this house, and like they're all riding bikes to work and running weed eaters and stuff. And not that was, but it's bad or anything, but I'm like looking for foreman positions on Indeed, and can I come up? So I had a company truck in the driveway in like 2 weeks after getting there, and I was foreman for this concrete cutting company, and just, I wanted more. Like I didn't want that. And I put my nose down, and I kept my focus on growth. And I was working out every day. I was taking care of myself. I was super disciplined. And I think that came from playing sports whenever I was younger. But so that was like the beginning of the journey of where I am now.
I have so much to ask you, but thank you for sharing that. And I think it's so important for men to be vulnerable and open up, to give other men permission to talk about the really hard struggles that they've been through. So at the beginning, you mentioned how you were trying to fill a void with these drugs and alcohol and all of these things that are external to you. What do you think? And I know this always stems from childhood. I've interviewed hundreds of people in going through my own journey. I know it always starts in childhood. So was there an experience that you went through in your childhood that you wanted to use these drugs and alcohol as a coping mechanism?
I'm not going to blame it on my parents, or like just watching them grow up using drugs, but that probably stemmed from it. Just thinking it was normal to just sit around and smoke weed all day. Like some people's families drank. My family smoked weed. and I would sit at the table with like all my uncles and cousins and my brother and my sister. Everybody just smoked weed everywhere we went. You go to a birthday party, everybody's smoking weed. My dad was the dealer for the family. Like he was pounds under the bed. And I remember going to third grade and telling my teacher at White City Elementary School, my dad smokes homemade cigarettes. And I get home from school that day, and I guess the guidance counselor called him or something. And he's like, Johnny, what are you telling them people over there? And this was a different time. This was like weed. It
Mm.
was like heroin back then.
Mhm.
But he didn't get in trouble or anything. But I was like, I didn't know it wasn't normal. I thought that was everybody's parents did that. And then like even growing up with my friends, my mom smokes weed too. And my mom. So I think seeing that normalized, like, I'm not saying that because I made the decision to use it, right? I made the decision to pick it up, but I think seeing that made it normal. And then I wouldn't say that the only thing, so I've worked the 12 steps and I processed my childhood and I've been able to go back and I've worked the steps with other men.
Mhm.
And I think the 12 steps are amazing. And I think if the whole world worked them and was able to go back and take a look at their lives and be able to forgive themselves and forgive others and forgive just, I think the world would be a different place. So I was able to look at my childhood, and what happened is that my little brother was born 5 years after me. He has Down syndrome. So, and I was the whoops child first. Like I was kind of like an only child. It's my older brother, older sister, 15, 16 years difference between us. So whenever I was born, my parents kind of had a little bit of money. They'd already been through a couple kids. And so I got away with murder up until my little brother was born. They treated me great. Once he came and played sports, dad was at every baseball game up until, bowling whenever I was younger. And so when my little brother was born, the attention shifted to him. So I went to the only attention I could get was negative attention. So it was acting out, being bad in school. They told me I had ADHD. So I use that as it's like borderline kind of, they tested me for being gifted and they were like saying I was like borderline, like a genius.
Wow.
And And so I was intelligent whenever I could use that to my advantage. I get in a fight at school. I'd be like, oh, I forgot to take my medicine this morning. And I would like get out of trouble because of it. And but I think that maybe not having the attention that I deserved or that I was seeking as a child starting at 5 really caused me to act out and to get involved with a different crowd. And, but I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. I mean, those are really big factors. I think it's fascinating how you actually looked at what you went through and you were processing it and you realized that you use those coping mechanisms because you went through that. And I definitely relate to that. I never would lash out, but I would try to have so much success in anything I did, getting straight A's or getting #1 medal in gymnastics because I never got recognition from my parents. And so unless I achieved something amazing, then it was like, "Oh, great job." And so it seemed like for you, that was the opposite.
I was still doing amazing stuff, but
Yeah.
it wasn't really
Mhm.
like, it was sports and stuff too. Like I was always the top 3 or 4 fastest kids on my baseball team. Played all-stars every year
That's
that I
amazing.
played. So like I was doing and my dad was there. Like even with my little brother, was there at every game. I think when I got older, some of the kids' parents, the other kids that I used to play with, parents were like, "Johnny used to get out of your dad's van and he smelled like weed. So he'd smoke joints on the way to like drop me off at practice. You get out, like fog rolls out, like Johnny's here." So I did amazing. I did good stuff. I did fairly well in school. And like I said, they tested me for gifted. And they ended up like from like kindergarten through like 5th grade, they always moved me up a grade.
Oh, wow.
So like I was always, and I tell people like I was always dated older women too. So it was like maybe just I was more advanced or
Mhm.
something from a young age
Yeah.
than everybody that was my peers.
You're an old soul.
Maybe.
Yeah. So after you went to jail and you were in recovery, and all of the people around you were still smoking cigarettes and drinking and all of that. But you decided to take up personal development and start reading books. Was there a defining moment in your life where the light bulb went off and you're like, okay, I need to make a change in my life? Was there a moment or was there a thought process you had to go through
It was it when I was in jail that last time.
the last time?
So I was on a year of probation and I was 11 months in. I was almost about to get off. And I was with my wife now. She was my girlfriend then. I was living with her and I was doing great, like a whole year with her almost that I was out. And We went to I was on probation. I about to get off. I had a check in my pocket. It was a Friday night. Called the probation office. It was late in the day. I was like, hey, I can't make it up there to pay my last payment. It was like $500 payment I had to make. She's like, don't worry about it. Take care of it next week. Good deal. All right. So we go. It was like 3 days before Christmas. We go down to West Palm to go ice skating. It's like our Christmas thing. We go down there to Lake Worth where there's an ice skating rink. Me, my son, and my wife. So I was getting to take my son on the weekends and stuff at this point from his grandmother. And so we go down there, had an awesome night. We're on our way back, stopping in Jupiter to get gas, and see this cop sitting there as I'm pulling in, Jupiter police, and didn't think nothing of it. Pumped my gas, pulled out. He lights me up, pulls me over, says, are you Jonathan Parsons? I said, yeah. He's like, come step out of the back of the car. He's like, you got a warrant for your arrest. Puts me in handcuffs, says I got a warrant. The probation officer violated me and didn't tell me. And that's why I say probation's a setup. Like, I'm like 11 months in, doing everything I'm supposed to do. Anyway, so
Did that happen because of the payment that you said you were going to pay the next week?
yes. So she had already violated me before that. Didn't say nothing, and whatever. And it just so happened it was like a perfect storm where I happened to be out that night. And this guy wasn't looking for me, but he was just running people's tags and saw that my name was on, the license plate, pulled me over, asked me who I was. My son's in tears. My wife at the time, my girlfriend, she didn't have a license or anything. So she's freaking out, like, how am I going to get home? Like, my brother ended up coming to pick her up, get the car and stuff. But I ended up in jail in Gun Club Road in West Palm, and I got extradited to St. Lucie County. So I had to wait there. I ended up spending Christmas in jail in Gun Club, and I was doing the right thing. And they're like, yeah, we hear that all the time. You're innocent. Yeah. But that time when I ended up in Rock Road, which is St. Lucie County Jail, I went to it's called the spiritual dorm. So that was my defining moment. That was where it's a Christian dorm at the jail. So you have to ask to go in there. I had already been in the drug dorm. I've already been in general population, but I got in there. I knew I was going to be in there for a while because when you have a violation of probation, it takes you a while before you go to court. You can't bond out even if you wanted to. And the church we were going to at the time, the Brazilian church we were at, they had paid for a lawyer for me, so I could get out sooner. And my wife had money. She was working, and I had given her that check. So she's like, look, hang out, do your thing. And I believe that was like a blessing in disguise, because that was the first true time that I've ever connected with God. And I spent a little over a month in there, but men would come out from the outside. There was like 5 or 6 churches that would come in during the day, and it was part of the program. They would come in and like pour into us and have a teaching, and they'd give handouts and stuff. And like, that's where I really dove in. I'm like, I don't want to live that life anymore. And because when I was with my son's mother, I did end up using again. That was I was smoking crack and shooting heroin at that time whenever with her. And she had thrown my stuff out a couple of times, but that was where I met God the first time and actually found him. And, like I said, I like to say it was a, perfect, happy ending life, but it wasn't. I got out, I ended up using again, and probably 6 or 8 months of that, couldn't manipulate my way back into her. She started throwing my stuff out by the road. And finally that last time, she's like, look, you either want that life or you want me. And I ended up going into another halfway house. And I truly didn't want to live that life. Like, I hear it from a lot of people. Like, they go out and get drunk on the weekends. They're like, I'm never drinking again. You truly mean it in your heart. You truly think that you're like, I'm never drinking again. This just sucks. Like, I have a headache. I get a hangover. But 4 o'clock rolls around that next day, and you're like, man, beer sounds good right about now. And you just fall into that vicious cycle. And so I kept it together. I quit cold turkey. I was out. I was in a halfway house, and my wife at the time, she wasn't talking to me. She was really holding strong. She was the first woman in my life that I couldn't manipulate, because she's just had that. She's this Brazilian, just tough cookie that was like, she loved me. I know she loved me. I loved her, but she was holding strong. She's like, no, I'm not doing that. I don't want my life to be like that. So you either get it together if you want me, or see you later. And I got it together. And she said that after a couple of months, she's like, look, if you want to move back in with me, you got to marry me. And because that's like a Christian value thing. And like, the pastor of the church was like, look, do you love her? Because American culture, we don't think like that. We're like, oh, you got to test drive the car before you buy it. Like, that's just a piece of paper. And that's how I thought growing up until I became a Christian and realized that that's biblical, that all of the blessings come when you get married. And it's true. And that's truly what happened. And like, I'm getting goosebumps right now because our life changed when we got married and we've devoted our whole life to God. Like even before that, we were serving in the church. They gave me a key to the church. Me and my wife were cleaning the toilets after service on Sundays and vacuuming the floors. And like, it was around COVID. I was in charge of Facebook, like doing the lives for the people that were watching it at home. So I was like one of 3 people that were in the church during COVID. And like they took me in and made me feel like a part of the family. These people didn't know me from Adam, and they laid hands on me and prayed for me and helped me get out of that darkness and taught me that putting a ring on a woman's finger and becoming her husband is a gift and a blessing that's real. That's the real part of life. It's not when we're kids and we're taught like men and kids, the males in general, we're like, oh, women are pieces of meat. But that's not real. When you are truly with a woman that you love and you say that vow and you put that ring on her finger, that's a sacred
Absolutely. I think the
thing.
devil is real. And
100%.
society tries to brainwash people into thinking that it's great to have multiple women. But I've seen so many incredible stories when a man does dedicate his life, and women are multipliers.
Yeah,
But I want to go back to the defining moment that you were looking to God, because I find that He puts us through these really hard circumstances. It allows us to get closer to Him, and He has to
100%.
break us to build us. I know you spoke about forgiveness. So, how important has forgiveness been for forgiving you and then forgiving everyone around you?
It's probably the most important thing. I don't think real change happened until I was able to forgive myself. And obviously, you can't forgive yourself until, for me, it was knowing what it meant to be Christ-like. No, reading the Bible, understanding the Bible, and understanding that Christ died on our cross for our sins, no matter what we did, and His grace and His mercy is sufficient enough for whatever it was that we did, because He paid the price for it. His blood paid the price for it. So I was thinking with all of the things that I've done in my life, if He died on the cross for my sins, if He can forgive me, why can't I forgive me? And it was like and obviously through working the 12 steps, like the only wrong way to work the 12 steps is without a sponsor. When you can call a sponsor like a mentor, you can call him a sponsor, you can call him a disciple leader, whatever you want to call it, it's the same thing, right? It's another iron sharpening iron. And when I was able to sit down with another man and realize that step 4, you make an inventory of people who've wronged you and who you've wronged in your life, and then you end up making amends later on in the steps, like the steps are in order for a reason, but those character defects that caused me to do what I did, and I had to forgive others too, that I thought I was taking some of this stuff to my grave, that like, man, this guy did this to me, and like, but it's not bothering him.
Yeah,
It's in my head, but he's
your own.
living his life normal. And so I was able to forgive people for things that this guy owed me money. This guy took my girlfriend in high school. Once I was able to start doing all those and really truly letting go of it, not forgiving and then holding on to it like with claw marks, I was able to change. So forgiving others, forgiving myself was the key for sure. And I found it through God.
I really want to highlight what you said. I was in a sermon. It was actually on Father's Day, and the pastor said exactly what you said. And it hit me so hard when he was like, Jesus was on the cross to forgive us of our sins. And so why can't we forgive other people if He can do that for us? I think that's so profound. So I know your recovery isn't just quitting the alcohol and the drugs. It's really completely transforming your identity, your self-image, and how you see yourself. So for anyone listening to this, what were some of the things that you did to help rewrite your identity and see yourself as a new person?
So truly reading and understanding the Bible, I think through Bible study, I think it's in Corinthians. I can't exactly say what scripture, where it's at, but it says that you're a new man in Christ. And so like part of when I was in the ministry, like him and I would get into it because like, I think in 12 step, it's a daily renewing of the mind. You're never fixed. You're never like truly recovered. I think it's a constant ongoing battle. Every single day that you open your eyes, you have to surrender and, start a new day that way. And so like we got into it. He's like, you're a new man. I'm like, yeah, but it also says in Proverbs that a dog returns to his vomit. So if I stop doing what I'm supposed to do, guess where I'm going to go? I think when I believe that truly with my heart that I am a new man, and that I still have to continuously work on myself. I think it was a combination of I became a good Christian because of the 12 steps, and they are biblical. They're from Matthew. I think that just was, it was easier for me to pick it up. And some people are forced to go to church when they're younger, and like they hate church because of it. And it wasn't, so I didn't have that. I had an open mind when I came into being a Christian. And, but that's what I would say is that when I realized and truly internalized that I am a new man, and I didn't kind of even believe the lies, like a 12 step helped me. But at the same time, I don't agree with the fact that I have to only stay going to 12 step meetings the rest of my life. There's more for us out there. And not saying that I don't go to AA or NA anymore, but that God has way more than just in the rooms. Like he wants us to go into the world and make disciples. So if I'm only pouring into the box of AA and NA in the 12 step realm, then that's where I'm going to stay. So I think opening it to other men in the church and realizing that, like, there's normal everyday people that don't call themselves, and I don't call myself an addict or alcoholic anymore because of what the Bible says. I am a new man. And I think that death and life is in the power of the tongue. So if I tell myself, oh, I'm an addict, then guess what? I'm going to wake up every day and that's my identity. So I had to stop saying out of my mouth things that would come to reality and start speaking life over my life instead of, oh, I can't do this, or I'll never be able to do that. And because you won't be. If you say it out of your mouth, you're going to believe it.
Absolutely true. And I think it's really important to focus on what you said as you were a new man in the image of God, but you made the decision to see yourself as that. And I think when you make a declaration and a decision and you speak life into yourself
Mm-hmm.
of who you can be, it helps you step into that identity. So I think affirmations are very, very powerful. I do them every morning to really believe that you are that person, and your belief becomes your actions, and then your actions are the way that you see yourself. So for anyone listening to this who might be struggling with addiction or even just drinking alcohol, and they're starting to normalize that one, it leads to 2 drinks, 3 drinks, what would you say to them?
I mean, if you want to quit, you have to want to. There was a whole lot of people in my life that wanted me to do it as I was continuing beating myself up against my head against the wall over and over again. And just everybody wanted it for me, but until I wanted it for myself, it wasn't going to happen. And then I kind of had that feeling of I was in this deep, dark hole that I had dug, and it was easier to keep digging instead of trying to climb out. So I think if you're in that position where it just feels like you can't get there, I mean, whatever it may be, for me, like 12 steps was the beginning. So I was able to get around people. And I think that's the key, is getting around people. Because there's a difference between isolation and solitude. And then when I'm isolated, I'm telling myself I'm not good enough. I'm telling myself that I'll never be worthy. I'm in this deep hole I'm never going to get out of. So I think surrounding myself with positive people and people that wanted better for me, instead of, I think growing up in my life, I was the guy, even the drug dealer. He's like, oh, I don't have change for this 20. Like, just keep the change. And then later when I wanted some more drugs, like, you don't remember that extra $10 from earlier? Like, what? What happened?
Well, I know we talked a lot about your past, and thank you so much for opening up about that and the tools and the skills that you use to help you become successful. So now let's talk about your brand. I want to focus on discipline and legacy. Why did you choose those 2 words? And then what do those 2 words mean to you?
So it's crazy how it all happened. God brings people into my life. And I think through discernment, I'm able to realize that he just put this person in my life for a reason. And so there was a gentleman named Benny. I was online, and I didn't really have this like clear message or why I was doing what I was doing. I would just get on TikTok every day and just share whatever was on my heart. It wasn't really biblical. It wasn't really 12 step. It was just like, hey, if you're going through this today, try to do this. But I did it for almost 6 or 8 months straight every day. And I grew a following, and I didn't think anything of it. I was just working. I was doing what I was supposed to do. I think at that point in my life, around that time of my life, I had listened to probably every single motivational speech
Mhm.
on YouTube. I don't think there's one I haven't heard. I swear, like I would get on there every morning when I was working out or when I was walking or I was on my way to work, and I'd play it and be like, I heard this one already. And like, I'd try to find another one. What goes in comes out, right? So I was building this and I didn't even know it, to impact others and help others. And I went away from it. Long story short, went away from it. Probably about a year later, I open up TikTok and YouTube, and I'm like, geez, all these videos got like 20,000 views on them. I got 18,000 followers on TikTok. It just happened like overnight. And I realized that maybe there's something here. Like maybe I'm supposed to do this. And so I started posting again. And up to this point, I think Instagram just told me like 68 weeks straight. And I post like 4 to 5 times every single day
Wow,
on
4 to 5 times?
every
That's
platform
impressive.
every day. And I've streamlined it. I have help, but it's the compounding consistency, I think. Anyway, so I met a guy named Benny Salas.
You know Benny.
Benny
Oh my
Salas.
gosh, I love Benny.
He actually, his stuff is in the front of the studio right now. He's going to be moving into the studio with me. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. He just invited me to his 49th birthday.
Yes, me too. So maybe we'll be there together. And Benny, I met him at a networking event. Same thing. Met this guy. Like, I'm in this spot right now where I want to grow. I want to do something with what I'm doing. And I didn't really have a clear message. So he's like, Jonnie, he got on the phone with me. We talked. He's like, bro, go on to GoDaddy.com right now. What is it that you want? Oh, well, I'm disciplined. I go to the gym every day. I do this. And he's like, all right, there it is. That's it. What else? He's like, what, you want to leave a legacy? What does legacy mean to you? Well, to me, it means what I'm doing today is going to impact 4 generations from now. When you're a chain breaker and what you do in your life, like my great grandkids might not know who I am, but I'm moving in a way right now where I'm pouring into my family, pouring into my kids to where that's going to move on, right? We are the way we are because of our parents, and subconsciously they poured things into us we didn't know, like limiting mindsets and things and so like if I'm pouring into even my stepchildren and my grandbabies, it's going to impact generations from now. And even if they don't know my name, it's okay. As long as I know that when I wake up every day that I'm making a difference. And until people start telling me that I'm a piece of crap and like, don't do what you're doing anymore. And I hear that anyway, but I don't care. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
All the noise.
But so that's what legacy meant to me. And he's like, boom, there it is. He's like, buy that right now and go, daddy. He's like, but I just needed that. We all know what we want to do. We all know what we need to do, but you needed someone to be like, go on here right now, type this in, get it. And it's almost like once you set the date, you have to do it. Once you set it, you're like, all right, I'm all in now. So I just started doing that, man. Once I started winning those little battles and doing the things that I've always wanted to do, like after me and Benny met, like I wrote 3 books. We just did a Iron Legacy Collective is a kind of a spinoff of Discipline and Legacy, but it's a personal development community here locally. We set the date. We did it. The first 74 people at the first event last month.
That's incredible.
It's an ongoing. Every week we're doing a teaching. We're creating value.
You and Benny together?
No, Benny was at the first one. He spoke for me.
He's a great speaker.
But he usually charges money for that, and he came and did it for free for me. And thank you, Benny. You're awesome. He's supposed
I'm sure he's gonna see this.
He's supposed to do the podcast, but I've been on him because we help each other. Like he's like, Jonnie, you're doing stuff I wish I've been trying to do for years. So like that's the reality. Is like when God brings people into your life, it is truly iron sharpening iron. One man helps another one, and so that's where it started. That was the beginning, and now there's anything I want to do, I just do it.
But I really want to talk about too, because it's not like this all just happens overnight. It's small incremental steps.
Compounded.
Your mindset, listening to these motivational speeches every single day, and then surrounding yourself with people. So it really is so many little things, but they pile up and they become really big things. Wow, that's really crazy. I didn't know that you published 3 books. That's amazing. And I know that you just launched a mentorship program. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
So that was kind of like by default. I never woke up and was like, oh, I want to coach people, because obviously like I make good money doing what I do. My wife has an amazing, successful business, and it wasn't ever like I wanted to do this for money. But Benny was actually the one where he was like, you got to charge people. Your time is valuable. And like I was pouring into people, even through sponsees and helping people. And it's like you would pour your heart and soul into people and they would just disappear for whatever reason. It was like you get to step 4. Step 4 is the hardest because you actually have to look at yourself and look at your past and look at a lot of things. And
a lot of people don't
say the 1, 2, 3 shuffle is what they call it. And so, if people pay, they pay attention. So that's where it kind of went. He got poured into me and got poured into me. And up until I'd say probably the last year I mentored I got 4 guys I've mentored. It's business and personal development. 3 of them have exponentially changed their businesses. And I'm not taking credit for that. I'm just there as a catalyst, right? To like bring, like Benny brought things up for me. But it's awesome. It's awesome to see. And that's what I want. I want people to come to me in like 5-6 years and be like, yo, Jonnie, you changed the trajectory of my life because of you coming into it. And I give the glory to God because I'm only doing what I'm doing because of him. And I walk out of my house every day because I know I'm on Team Jesus, like standing tall with my head held high and my chest out because of God. 100%. That's it. So, but we have to do our part, right? I think that it's a combination. We're a team. God gives me the courage, the tenacity, places the people in my life, puts the situations in my life for me to do with them as he wants me to do. And it's up to me to have the discernment to know that, like, hey, I'm supposed to help this person. So that, like I said, it was like a default thing because I became who I became. People started asking me. The business grew. I started losing weight. People were asking me about, how did you lose weight? So it was like, oh, I guess I'm going to be a coach. And that's
Yeah,
how
so
it
it
all.
just kind of fell into your lap, but you had to do all the steps, like you said, and take action for that to happen.
Well, now I'm all in. I pay people for mentorship too. I feel like we're taught as a society that go to high school, go to college, be this like sheep and follow everybody and do what you're supposed to do. But I think when you step outside the box and not that I'm better than anybody else, I'm not better. I want to be better than I was yesterday. So I'm in competition with me. But we're taught that like, you're done. You're done learning. After you go to college, just go work the rest of your life. We need to continuously learn. We're human beings. Our species is meant to thrive on knowledge and growth. And like the information age is dead. I think we have at our fingertips now, we have the ability to know as much information as we want about anything. And I take advantage of it. I'm learning, like my wife yells at me. So she's like, you're in the bedroom. All you do is, I'm not scrolling. I'm learning about peptides and like what car I want to get next and reading which, like
Yeah,
the
no,
which one's going to be the one that makes the most money in 10 years.
I
And
agree. Even in the Bible, it says if you don't have a vision, then you're going to perish. And so if you're not growing,
trajectory.
you're dying. Yeah.
My dad, one of the things I'll never forget, my dad, God rest his soul, he says, even if you're going to the bathroom, walk with purpose. So even if you don't know where you're going, walk with a purpose. And call it fake it what you make it, call it whatever you want, but like it's true, because if I don't have a vision or a direction or any type of purpose in my life, what am I doing? I'm just meandering through life. And I did that for years and I didn't like it.
Yeah. You brought up a lot about discernment, and I think it's so important to have that. And I know the Bible talks a lot about that too. How do you have discernment in your own life?
I've acquired the ability to have discernment through being a Christian, and I think it's biblical. You can read about it all the time. It talks about and I think it came from being a firefighter too, because of that, like situational awareness. If you're in a deep, dark room and there's smoke everywhere, and like, can you go in and get out at the same time and feel your way around and climb through the wires and climb through everything to get through it? So like, that's kind of probably where it started for me. But to be able to like just put myself in other people's shoes and like just see things from all angles, see things from a distance perspective as well, kind of gave me that ability to be like, hey, man, I've been wanting to write this book for 6 months. Now a publisher just walked in, I'm hanging out with. Now this guy who wrote 3 books is standing next to me. I had to discerning, hey, this is God saying, Jonnie, write a book. So I tell people, like, sometimes he's pushing you with one hand and then he's got both hands on your back pushing you like that. So like, I don't let it get to that point anymore. I'm like, all right, I know what direction you want me to go. I know you're placing these people in my life for a reason. And I go all in.
I love that. Isn't it fascinating how everything we go through is everything we make it through? But these experiences, like you had being a firefighter, just keep building up your skill set and capacity to have discernment. So I think that was beautiful. And I like how you said it's your ability to have it, right? You're cultivating within
Yeah.
your life. So, all right. So, to wrap this up, I always like to do a fun this or that challenge because I
Okay.
feel like so many of my conversations are really deep, but I think those are the conversations we really need to hear rather than
100%.
surface level. So, you need to choose one, okay? Either coffee or pre workout.
Pre-workout.
Okay. Journaling or prayer.
Journaling.
Interesting. Would you rather have a business meeting or a gym session?
I'll go back to that one. Those two go together, journaling and prayer. But okay, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
ADD moment.
A business meeting, or would you rather have a gym session?
Gym session.
Would you rather eat steak or chicken?
Depends on what kind of steak. Skirt steak, picanha, yes, I'll go that route. Otherwise, I'm going chicken.
Okay. All right. So this one was really hard when I was thinking about writing these. So, would you choose your favorite Bible verse or favorite motivational quote?
Let's say Bible verse.
Okay. I want you to finish the sentence. So, your life changes the moment you
Take action.
love it. So powerful. And for all of us listening to this, where can they find you to learn more about what you do, who you are, if they want to connect with you?
Disciplineandlegacy.com. It has all the platforms there. It has everything there. Discipline and Legacy podcast is also on YouTube. Jonnie Parsons Official is TikTok and Instagram. And Jonnie Parsons is Jonnie. But as soon as you type it in, it should be the first one. There's no other Jonnie Parsons out there.
We will definitely link everything in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here today,
Yeah.
opening up, sharing your story, and giving people listening to this hope and faith that they can too transform their life just like you have. So thank you again for being here. And we're sending you all so much love and light.